Shalom, Israel. Grace and mercy from God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, be unto you. All praises to the Most High that we made it another week to another Sabbath day. And of course, giving all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father in the name of His only begotten Son, and we do so by His Holy Ghost. I just want to check, make sure everything's functioning properly. It says we're live, so all praises to the Most High for that. It says we're doing all right, at least on my end. Let me check and see about on the viewers' end how we're looking. Let's see. And see about on the viewers' end. Okay. How we looking? All praise to the Most High. We look good on YouTube. Let me check Facebook. We should be good on there as well. How we looking? How we looking? We doing all right? Let me check and see about on the viewers' end. How we looking? All right, so we appear to be all right. And I just got an alert because that's one of the things that I was going to mention before we started was, I'm not covering it this week, but it seems they ended up catching the escaped monkeys, or at least I heard that they had caught one of them. I just seen a headline there that Google had sent me that they had caught the last one. There was 3. I never heard of the second one being caught. But even the first story of the escaped monkey is that like a woman shot it, and she shot at it, or shot a warning shot for it to run away, and it didn't move, right? So like, what's going on there, right? Is it a deaf monkey? Is it is it just unfamiliar with guns and what they do? Like or is the entire story fabricated? God only knows. So that was the story that I'd heard earlier this week, I think it was, about the whole escaped monkeys thing. And apparently I just got that alert. I didn't look into it at all, but literally just got that alert that they found the last one. Well, what happened with the second one? Regardless, it's a lot of stuff going on there. A lot of stuff under the surface, so to speak. Other than that, I haven't seen too much. Haven't seen too much this week as far as like news is concerned. There's always new doctrines among Israelites, though, and that's something that I'd seen last Sabbath. A new doctrine that Paul is teaching idolatry, teaching the people to be idolaters. Even though Peter co-signed him and said, Paul's writings are hard to be understood for those who wrestle with the other scriptures. And that's very apparent because Paul literally speaks against idolatry and idolaters all throughout. So just foolishness. Like I said, there's always new doctrines among Israelites, and people wanting to get clicks, people wanting to get views. So if you buy into that, it is what it is. You easily led astray, perhaps, to say it like best case scenario, you're easily led astray if you actually buy into the whole Paul taught idolatry thing. And again, you have to take it up with Peter, because Peter is the one who, in 2 Peter 3 and 15, and maybe verse 16 as well, he talks about how Paul is a beloved brother, right? And he didn't say anything about how Paul was going off with his teachings. He just said that his writings were hard to be understood for those who wrestled with the other scriptures. So that's as far as I'm going to get into that tonight. One thing I am going to talk about. Oh yeah, I did see some stuff about Brazil, but I'm saving that for next week, Lord's will. Unless something big happens this week. Next week I'll go into what's going on with Brazil and the history of Brazil. But as for tonight, we'll talk a little bit about America. Let me bring this down. There we go. All right. Lord's will, y'all be able to see. There's a bunch of Democrats won elections on Tuesday, I believe it was. A bunch of elections going on around the country on Tuesday. And it says here that Democrats' electoral sweep tests Trump's anti-DEI and immigration agenda. So we're going to look into this. And then I got another article, and then we'll get right into the scriptures. It says on November 7th, from Washington, Democrats' victories in Tuesday's elections have exposed potential vulnerabilities in U.S. President Donald Trump's hardline immigration agenda and bid to stamp out diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, analysts said. While the winners focused their campaign around cost of living issues, they also embraced the core tenets of DEI and wove them into their platforms. In Virginia, Abigail Spanberger, the winner of the governor's race, vowed to restore a voting rights amendment in the state's constitution. The winner in the race for New Jersey governor, was that Mikey Sherrill, said in a primary debate that she believes LGBTQ education is essential for students and not a subject parents should be able to opt out of. All right, so taking away parental rights there in New Jersey. New York City Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani was the most outspoken, centering his economic platform on racial equity and economic justice. He spoke at the March on Wall Street in August, led by Reverend Al Sharpton, MLK III, and civil rights groups in a direct show of support for policies to help marginalized communities. Mamdani's decisive victory over former Governor Andrew Cuomo, a Democrat who ran as an independent, makes him the first Muslim and first person of South Asian heritage to hold the office, because Mamdani himself is from Uganda, but his parents are from India, I believe. New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant. Mamdani, who was born in Uganda before his family moved to New York when he was a child, said in his election night victory speech. So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get any of us, you will have to get through all of us. All right, so being in direct opposition to President Trump. The White House declined to comment, but Trump on Wednesday repeatedly incorrectly labeled Mamdani a communist. Mamdani is a democratic socialist. They put America last, we put America first, Trump said in a speech in Miami. He blamed the U.S. government shutdown for his party's performance. Which, not really. It's you see the political pendulum swing every 2 years, 4 years, whatever you want to say. Where you've seen that with presidents since H.W. Bush. It went Democrat for 8 years, then Republican for 8 years, then Democrat for 8 years, then Republican for 4 years, Democrat for 4 years, and then Trump again here most recently. And throughout the midterms, you see the swapping back and forth every 4 years as well, where you'll have a Republican majority, then a Democrat majority, then a Republican majority, then a Democrat majority, right? So you see this all the time. All right, we're just in the most modern incantation of it. All right, people say, well, it's going to be different this time. Yeah, sure it will. Since returning to power, Trump has tried to recast DEI as racist and illegal through executive orders, purging the federal government of offices and departments that were created to develop and enforce policies to remedy historical discrimination and inequities. He has also used the presidency to pressure private entities like companies, law firms, and universities to recant their DEI principles. Republicans lose Latino votes. A swing to the left by Latino voters may also signal tension over Trump's hardline immigration agenda, which was billed as an effort to pursue dangerous criminals, but has also swept up U.S. citizens and people with no criminal record, some of them in dramatic raids involving Black Hawk helicopters and tear gas, right? A lot of people hate the way that Trump is going about this, and the, there is like a racial profiling element to it, of course. They see any Latino person and they're like, get in the van, basically. And they even see like, Native American, quote unquote, so-called Native Americans, and they will assume they're Latino as well and say, hey, get in the van or whatever. But also, the way he's going about it, they don't like the ICE raids and things like that. Where they will just grab a whole group of people, not even knowing who who they are, their citizenship, immigration status, anything like that, right? People don't like that. And what comes to mind when reading this is a comedian named Godfrey, I think is his name. He does a bit about Cubans who supported Donald Trump, right, on the campaign trail in the most recent election in 2024. And now it's Cubans regretting that because they're also getting swept up in this because I guess they thought that, oh, you're going after Mexicans, you're not going after Cubans. When Trump, he does not care, right? He's starting a war with Venezuela. You think he's going to make a distinction between all the different Latin American countries? Like, oh no, you're from Bolivia, you're good. Like, no, he does not. He does not care. Like, and we'll get into this, but it's an America versus the Israelites thing, all right? That's what it's about. It's not about. It's really Babylon oppressing the Israelites. That's what it's about. It's not about anything other than that, right? It's not about oh, we're specifically targeting criminals. Like, no, because since then, right, since he got elected, they said, well, if you cross into this country illegally, then you are a criminal. You committed a crime, you're a criminal, right? So they'll say one thing and then do another. That's all of politics, all right? The same thing with these Democrats that just won. They'll say one thing and do another. Just like when Biden ran on pro-immigration, right? But when he got in office, he sent Kamala down there to Guatemala and told the people, do not come, right? Because they say one thing and do another, all right? They say and do not, right? The hypocrisy. However, I will say about Trump, he did say that he was going to do mass deportation, and he is doing that, right? He come out and told you, hey, we're going to be the devil. And everybody was like, woo, be the devil. And then he did that. Cheryl won Pasek? The New Jersey county with the most Latinos. Yeah, I don't know this word right. Passaic? I've never read that word before in my life. That New Jersey county, y'all forgive me. People from New Jersey, y'all probably know how to pronounce that. The New Jersey county with the most Latinos, about 15 points on Tuesday after Trump won the county by 3 points last year. You see there? So for some reason, you had a bunch of Latinos, a bunch of even Mexican Americans who voted for Trump. And you say, oh, they're not going to come after me and my family. My family's the good ones. We're not going to get deported. Well, Trump, he does not care about who's good or bad. He's just trying to get the Israelites up out of here. He's just trying to go to war with Venezuela. When Venezuela has nothing to do with anything. Suggesting a Latino shift away from Republicans, said Mike Duhaime, a Republican strategist in New Jersey and former political director of the Republican National Committee. Democratic voters were just supremely motivated by what they see Trump is doing wrong, Duhaime said on the role of immigration and voter sentiment. They believe that what Trump is doing is wrong, and they're looking for a fighter who will stand up to him, not somebody who will cooperate with him. And that was a lot of the big talking points in the debate of the New York City mayor, right? The New York City mayor debate. It wasn't the only talking point, but it was one of the big ones. Mamdani saying, hey, look, I'm going to stand up to Trump. Cuomo, he's not. He's going to cooperate with him. And Cuomo's like, I'm not going to cooperate with him. Trump respects me, and therefore he's not going to bully me. He don't respect you, and like that was just goofy, right? Like, y'all talking about somebody has nothing to do with this race, right? Has nothing to do. He does have something to do with New York, as in that he comes from there, but like he's not even focused on New York at the time, right? Because he's president of the whole country. He's focused on international matters and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, Tuesday's results were a broad repudiation of Trump's heavy-handed immigration enforcement policy, as well as his attacks on DEI, said April English Albright, legal director of Black Voters Matter Fund, a group that pushes for better voter access for marginalized and predominantly Black communities. He absolutely was on the ballot, and he will remain on the ballot in the hearts and minds of people until he is no longer in American politics. She said, people will see every election as an opportunity to push back. And see, this is why that like even left wing people, maybe not individuals, but like left wing like media wanted Trump back in office. All right, it's because Trump equals ratings, and that they can always talk about Trump, and people are always gonna listen. People are always gonna have something to say about it, right? And so they're still doing that. In both New Jersey and Virginia, more than 90% of voters who supported the Democratic candidates believed Trump's anti-immigration policies had gone too far, according to an exit poll conducted by SSRS for CNN and other news outlets. In New York, 70% of Mamdani voters said the next mayor should not cooperate with the Trump administration's immigration policies. Most people are against the immigration policies. Anybody who's like seen it, anybody who knows what's going on. People that don't know what's going on, they say, well, what's really the problem? But people who like look into it, people that have seen what's going on, most of them have a big problem with what's going on and how it's being done. Whether the sentiments translate into victory for Democrats in next year's midterm elections remains to be seen, analysts say. Whether the midterms are going to be a wave election that ushers in sort of fresh political voices and fresh political blood, or if it will be a rush to the center in order to protect against a further right-wing lurch in the face of this administration is not yet clear, said Philip Solomon, professor of African American Studies and Psychology at Yale University. Winning the games you're supposed to win does not suggest momentum. It suggests that there hasn't been a collapse. All right, so he said, look, we were supposed to win this one because Trump is, becoming less and less popular. Polls show the Democratic brand remains unpopular while Trump's approval rating has dropped. Voters remain split between the parties. A Reuters Ipsos poll in late October found respondents were equally likely to say they would vote for a Republican or a Democrat for the House of Representatives if the election were held that day. Still, tensions are running high in Black, Latino, and Asian communities that have been on the front lines of the push against Trump's diversity policies, and they were also among groups with high turnout in Tuesday's races, said former New York mayoral candidate Maya Wiley. Exit polls show Sherrill and Spanberger, for example, outperformed their Republican opponents by a nearly 2-to-1 margin among Latinos. Many of these places where these races are happening, people were directly impacted by the Trump administration's very radical and extreme agenda, said Wiley, president of the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, right? So you have people being more and more dissidents, if you will. People are more and more upset as to how this current administration and government is going, all right? Which this happens, like I said, this happens so often every, 2 years, 4 years, no matter who's in office. But under Trump, it's just escalating worse and worse, right? Trump is the culmination of the direction America has been heading for the past 2-3 decades at this point. U.S. consumer sentiment. I got this other article here about U.S. consumer sentiment, all right? Meaning economic sentiment, people who are buying things. Near 3.5-year low as government shutdown fuels anxiety. All right. U.S. consumer sentiment slumped to a near 3.5-year low in early November as households across the political spectrum worried about the economic fallout from the longest government shutdown in history. So this isn't just, with Democrats or people who voted Democrat. This is across the political spectrum. People are concerned about this government shutdown caused by, Republicans and Democrats not getting along. All right. Which has caused disruptions ranging from food benefit payments to grounded flights, right? Because there's no air traffic controllers, right? Because they're mostly federally funded. Still, the University of Michigan surveys of consumers on Friday confirmed what economists describe as a K-shaped economy, where the higher income households are doing well and lower income consumers are struggling. Sentiment increased among consumers with large stock holdings, which the University of Michigan attributed to continued strength in stock markets, right? So the rich are getting richer. The poor are just getting poorer, right? Losing their benefits. That was the whole Big Beautiful Bill. That's what a lot of that outlined, right? The same type situation. Even though they can't technically get it done with the government shutdown, they can't do the things that were outlined in the quote unquote Big Beautiful Bill. Those things are still happening according to those guidelines that were laid out in it. The K-shaped economy was also evident in a conference board survey last week. White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett told Fox Business Network on Friday that the economic impact of the shutdown was far worse than expected, though activity was likely to rebound quickly once it ended. Right? So it's not ending though. That's the issue. Shutdowns generally have only moderate economic impacts given their typically brief nature and the economy bouncing back when the government reopens, said Daniel Hornung, a policy fellow at the Stanford Institute for Economic Policy Research. But this is a warning sign that this kind of prolonged shutdown could lead to a more meaningful economic weakness, right? So this is certainly Trump's longest shutdown, the longest shutdown in a long time, if not the longest ever. The University of Michigan said its consumer sentiment index dropped to 50.3 this month, the lowest level since June 2022, from a final reading of 53.6 in October. Economists polled by Reuters had forecast the index would dip to 53.2. All right, so this is a graph of consumer sentiment from the University of Michigan. All right. So you got the overall index about economic conditions, and then you have the lower side, the expectations for the future is on the lower side, and the view of the current economy is on the, it's not good, but it's not as bad as the expectations necessarily, at least for how it's going to get, all right? Interviews for the survey were concluded before the first set of major elections since President Donald Trump returned to the White House. Trump's fellow Republicans performed poorly against Democrats. The decline in sentiment occurred among consumers who describe themselves as Democrats, Republicans, and independents, and was spread across all age and income groups, with the expectation of those in the largest tercile of stock holdings. All right. So you see the consumer sentiment by the political party here. You have the independents really low. Republicans are somewhat high because obviously they believe in what Trump is doing. But Democrat sentiment is obviously very low. All right. But regardless, even the Republican sentiment is less than it was in Trump's first term. All right. And yeah, it only got lower. Wait a minute. What just happened? Here we go. Okay. Yes, this thing, I don't know if I did that or it just did this. Regardless. Shutdown disrupt food stamp payments. With the federal government shutdown dragging on for over a month, consumers are now expressing worries about potential negative consequences for the economy. Joanne Su, the director of the Surveys of Consumers, said in a statement, the government shutdown has led to cuts in benefits, including food stamps, for millions of lower-income households. Hundreds of thousands of federal workers have been furloughed and others are working without pay, while travelers are facing delays at airports as flights are grounded. Now, I fully expect them to get the government back up and going as far as Congress and whatnot, and the payment for air traffic controllers. I fully expect them to get that back up and going before the quote-unquote holiday season because they certainly want people to keep Thanksgiving. They want people to keep Christmas, right? And what that means for a lot of people is traveling a long distance, right, by plane. Not only that, but it's also buying gifts online and that kind of shipping, again, by plane. So I fully expect them to get it back up and going this month, but here's where we're at currently, right? Delays at airports. Yeah, I just read that. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimated annualized gross domestic product in the fourth quarter could be reduced by between 1.0 percentage point and 2.0 percentage points. While most of the decline in GDP would be eventually recovered, the CEO projected that between $7 billion and $14 billion will not be. All right, so the loss of a projected dozen billion dollars. All right. The sentiment weakness also reflected worries about the labor market. Oliver Allen, a senior U.S. economist at Pantheon Macroeconomics, who has access to the paid subscription portion of the University of Michigan survey, said the share of households expecting the unemployment rate to rise over the next year jumped to 62%, the highest level since 1980, from 52% in October. That reading was mirrored by a survey from the New York Federal Reserve showing respondents expected the jobless rate to increase in the coming year and anticipated a tough time finding work if they were to become unemployed. And that's only going to get worse in the following years because the whole robotics, whole engineering and robotics is expected to increase, certainly. NVIDIA and I believe Foxconn, I think was the company that I talked about a couple months ago. They were rolling some, robotic helpers out in, I think Houston. I think it's Houston, in a factory in Houston. They're going to roll them out. They're projected to be out by the first quarter of next year, right? So 2026, 2027, when you're going to start seeing like robots in the in factories and things like that, and probably other like lower skill jobs. Let's see. The unemployment rate was near a 4-year high, 4.3% in August, the last employment report to be published before the shutdown imposed a government economic data blackout. While independent surveys suggested the labor market eased in October, data on applications for state unemployment benefits, which continue to be collected, pointed to no material change to what economists have called a no hire, no fire jobs market. The absence of broad-based layoffs suggests the jobs market is holding together, even if the risk of a more meaningful slowdown cannot be ruled out, said Sarah House, a senior economist at Wells Fargo. Deteriorating sentiment would suggest weak consumer spending. Weak consumer spending, the economy's main engine. But the correlation between the two is weak, right? So they said, look, we got a little bit of data on that, but not too much, not enough to suggest that people aren't buying things the way they used to, which we know. If you're a normal person, you know it's harder to buy things now than it basically ever has been. That's just the state of the current economy. Economists also point out that spending is mostly being driven by higher income households, as lower income households are bearing most of the brunt of a sluggish labor market and higher prices from tariffs on imports. There you go. That's what I was just talking about right there. The top 20% of households by income drive 40% of consumer spending. And we think the wealth effect from the buoyant stock market has strengthened this year, said Michael Pierce, Deputy Chief U.S. Economist at Oxford Economics. We also think that reflects the increasing bifurcation is of the U.S. consumer. The survey's measure of consumer expectations for inflation over the next year increased to 4.7% this month from 4.6% in October. Consumers' expectations for inflation over the next 5 years eased to a still high 3.6% from 3.9% last month, right? So that's probably on the lower end of what it's actually going to be. The Federal Reserve last week cut its benchmark overnight interest rate by another 25 basis points to the 3.75% to 4% range. And Fed Chair Jerome Powell said a further reduction in the policy rate at the December meeting is not a foregone conclusion, right? So all this economic stuff, I bring this out to say this political and economic stuff. I bring this out to say here in Lamentations 4 and verse 17. We're going to talk about America, all right, in general, all right, and what the Bible says about America and its purpose, its job for us here And it's not what people think it is. As far as America was never supposed to be for God's people. All right, it was never supposed to be for us to, grow here, be happy here, love it here. All right, that's not what America was made for. All right. Here in Lamentations 4:17, it says, "As for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help." Vain help, meaning worthless or meaningless help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. This nation cannot save us. The U.S. is not for our salvation, all right? The U.S. is for our affliction, right? The U.S., or as the Bible calls it, Babylon the Great, is for our chastening, right? It's the same way that like a paddle that your parents have is not for your salvation, it's for your chastening, right? It's to whoop you so that you learn your lesson, right? That's what America is. America is a paddle on the Israelite people, all right? That's what it is. They hunt our steps that we cannot go in our streets, right? Like look at the Latinos currently. Our end is near, our days are fulfilled, for our end is come. All right, so you could say that in a pessimistic way, as far as like our end is come. That's what we think when we see what's going on, our affliction. We say, we're about to die, right? But our end is come, as in like the end of our chastening is coming. All right, the end of our suffering is coming. All right, though we do got to go through affliction to get to the kingdom. Our persecutors are swifter than the eagles of the heaven. They pursued us upon the mountains. They laid wait for us in the wilderness, right? So they'll hold up shop anywhere. They'll do stakeouts, The breath of our nostrils, the anointed of the Lord, was taken in their pits, of whom we said, under his shadow we shall live among the heathen. All right? So we say, we are God's anointed, certainly. All right? But God is still with us, even though we are going through it. All right? Rejoice, be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shalt make thyself naked. We're going to get into that a little later. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. Understand? So you got these two peoples here that the scriptures talk about, especially in these last days. You have the daughter of Edom and you have the daughter of Zion. All right? You have the Edomites and you have the Israelites. You have you have Esau and you have Jacob. All right? He will no more carry thee away into captivity, right? So this is the last captivity of the daughter of Zion. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins, all right? So again, as I was explaining a little earlier, America in the Bible is called Babylon the Great, right? So prophecy concerning Babylon oftentimes is twofold. It's talking about the historical Babylon and it's talking about the end time Babylon, Babylon the Great. So I believe this is Jeremiah 50 and verse 33. All right. Jeremiah 50 and verse 33. This is the function, the purpose of Babylon. This is why God made it. This is why God allowed it to be so. In Jeremiah 50 and verse 33. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together. All right, so that would be, the children of Israel would be your so-called Latinos and First Nations. All right, and the children of Judah would be your so-called blacks and your so-called blacks, Jamaicans, Haitians over here in the West, were oppressed together, right? So you got the so-called Latino people and the so-called black people oppressed together. And all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go, right? That's why there was a whole civil war fought over here about the end of slavery, right? Refused to let them go. Their Redeemer is strong. The Lord of hosts is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. All right? So he said, look, he's going to fight for us and return us to the land, right? Give rest to the land. As you see, currently the land of Israel has so much conflict going on in it, all right? From Gaza to the West Bank to Lebanon, all of that, all right? So, from there, let's get this in 2 Maccabees 4, because this is talking about the Greeks. The context of this is talking about the Greeks, but it's the same mentality. All right, it's the same mentality that is among the people today. All right, 2 Maccabees 4, starting with verse 15. Not setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all. So that's the problem with the so-called Black and Latino people today. All right, where it said Judah and Israel today is that we don't want to do what God told us to do. We don't want to do what the Bible says to do. We don't want to do what our forefathers did. All right? That being Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They dedicated their lives to the highest. We don't want to do that. We would rather be like the Grecians. All right? We'd rather be like America. All right? Liking the glory of the Grecians best of all. By reason whereof sore calamity came upon them. God said, look, that's the reason why you're going through what you're going through. You're trying to be like somebody else. All right? You're not trying to be like who God made you to be. You're trying to be like who God made them to be. All right? America is supposed to be wicked. That was the whole purpose of it. All right? It was never supposed to be, what people call now a Christian nation. All right? Even though it's never been Christian. All right? The founding fathers, they say, the founding fathers, they founded on Christian principles. Where is freedom of religion anywhere in the Bible? It's not. All right? That's not a Christian principle. All right? The freedom of speech, that's not in the Bible either. All right? In fact, there's laws against speech in the Bible. He said, look, don't praise other gods. Don't bow down to them. Christ said, don't make oaths, right? So there's plenty of laws prohibiting speech in the Bible. So there's not the founding fathers, quote unquote, of America. The principles that they founded this country upon are anti-Christ, not Christian principles. All right, America has never been Christian. I just seen this thing the other day that Thomas Jefferson, the guy who wrote up the, Declaration of Independence, but also had his hand in writing the Constitution. He may have written all of it. I don't know. But I heard that he made his own Bible, where he took the Bible and just ripped out all the pages, cut out all the pages that had anything about miracles, right? Cut out all the verses that had anything about miracles and made his Bible of just the doctrines, just the teachings in it, right? Because he didn't believe, all right? And that's what you had with the founding fathers. None of them really, they may have believed in a God, but they didn't believe in the Bible. They didn't believe in Jesus Christ the way that the Puritans did, for example, or that other people did over here, or even the indigenous or the Christian slaves, the Jewish slaves that they brought over here, all right? They didn't believe the way that God's people believed, all right? This place has never been good for God's people, never. And it's never going to be. It's just going to get worse and worse. And I'll go ahead and point that out here in Jeremiah 30. But we're going back to We're going back to 2 Maccabees. But this is one that I wanted to hit before we got over there. In Jeremiah 30, before it escapes my mind. Here, I believe it's Jeremiah 30 and verse 7. Talking about Jacob's trouble. All right. It says, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Right. So Jacob's trouble, a lot of people in the Israelite community, they talk about Jacob's trouble like it's specifically these last days, as in a time in the future from now, and till Christ returns, right? So they're talking about Jacob's trouble like it's only talking about that. But Jacob's trouble, when you read this, is talking about captivity. All right, Jacob's trouble is the affliction that we're going through. All right, that is Deuteronomy 28 essentially. That's Jacob's trouble. As it says here, for lo, the days come, saith the Lord, I will bring again the captivity of my people, Israel and Judah, saith the Lord. And I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it. Right? So, after captivity, after Jacob's trouble, God's going to redeem us. All right? As I said, even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Right? That's the return of the captivity. So that must mean Jacob's trouble is captivity. But regardless, that's what we're going through. That's what this place was made for. It was made for the chastening of Jacob. All right. So here we go. Back to 2 Maccabees 4, starting with 15 again. Not setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all. Right. We love their sports. We love their TV. We love their culture, their movies. By reason whereof sore calamity came upon them. For they had them to be their enemies and avengers, whose custom they followed so earnestly, and unto whom they desired to be like in all things. All right? So we would rather have them be our enemies and avengers than to, try to be like what God told us to be. All right? So that would mean they're our political opponents and our political allies, right? They're the Democrats. Yay, we love the Democrats. They're the Republicans, boo, we hate the Republicans, or vice versa, right? Latinos, as you've seen, they were going through the statistics in the elections. In 2024, Latinos was like, yay, we love the Republicans, we love Trump. And now it's boo, oh, we hate them, now we're voting Democrat, right? Enemies and avengers, but it's the same system. It's what they call two sides of the same coin, right? That expression, two sides of the same coin, all right? Whom custom they followed so earnestly, and unto whom they desire to be like in all things. Verse 17, for it is not a light thing to do wickedly against the laws of God. All right, so that's what we should keep in mind. That God doesn't take it lightly when you break his laws, when you sin against him. All right? But the time following shall declare these things. Exactly, the time following. The judgment that's coming will declare these things. All right. So, from there, let's get Revelation 13, because this talks about America. Revelation 13 talks about America. It's the second beast in Revelation 13. It's the second beast in Revelation 13. So, starting with verse 11, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Understand that thing, all right? Two horns, like a lamb. There's two horns to it, all right? It's the Democrats and Republicans. It's the left and the right, all right? But it said, like a lamb, all right? As in they try to appear to be peaceful. It said, and he spake as a dragon. But he speaks like the devil, all right? He speaks like the devil, all right? I don't necessarily want to stay in Revelation 13, but it's the first beast is talking about the European colonial empires. The second beast is talking about America, right? From there, still dealing with the two sides of it. And this is one that I meant to look up earlier to see exactly what this was, but I believe it's Mark 3. I believe it's Mark 3 about the house divided. Let's see. I think there's one in, there's definitely one in Matthew as well, but I can't remember where it's at. I think this one's in Mark 3 about the house divided. Christ mentioned a house divided. Here we go. Where is it at? I just want the part about the house divided. Verse 24. Yeah, I'll start with 24. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. Right? So that's where we're at with it. This kingdom is divided against itself. It used to be more nuanced in politics. I don't just mean like in my life. I mean like in the 20th century and the 19th century. From what political experts and historical experts will tell you, like within the like first of all, there was not just two parties, but also within each party, within each political party, there was nuance. There was left wing and right wing people in each of the political parties, right? But now it's become, if you're a Democrat, then you're leftist or left wing. If you're Republican, then you're right wing or fascist or whatever, right? And that's where we're at with it, right? It's so divided, all right? Whereas, like I said, it used to be a little bit more nuanced. Now, it is divided against itself. So, according to Christ, that kingdom cannot stand. It cannot persist. And if a house divided against itself, and if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand, right? So he said, even down to a house, right? Like what I say, the family that prays together stays together, right? The only way that your house, your family is going to stay together is if you come together on one accord, right? Concerning this Bible. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but hath an end. Understand that. And that is the end. That is the end of this world. All right. You read this here in 2 Esdras 6. And I'll start with verse 7. Yeah, I'll start with 7. Then answered I and said, so it's Ezra talking to the angel Uriel. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? All right, so they were talking about the last days, the end times. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau, right? Because Esau was the elder, Jacob was the younger, all right? And as they came out, Jacob was holding on to the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, right? So Christ's kingdom, Christ being the rightful heir to the throne of David, promised and prophetically ordained to restore the tabernacle of David, as Amos said, all right? That's it that followeth, right? That's the kingdom of God that followeth, right? So right now, the world's being ran by Esau, right? The wicked America. Trump being the embodiment of that, the culmination of Esau's reign, all right? The end of the world. We're here. But in the timeline of things, we're just in the beginning of sorrows. All right? So, from there, let's get this here. Still talking about the like two-sided nature, right? The left and right nature of America. All right. I'll read this here first in 2 Esdras 11, because I don't necessarily want to read this whole vision, just some key points and the interpretation of specifically America as it pertains to this vision. All right. So this is, I guess it's about to explain this. In 2 Esdras 11 and 37, I beheld, and lo, as it were a roaring lion chased out of the wood. And I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle and said, right? So this roaring lion is the Messiah. It is the Son of God. It is Jesus the Christ. And it said unto the eagle being the fourth beast in Daniel, that Daniel never described what it was. Ezra's receiving revelation on what that is. And the eagle, just to show you real quick about the eagle, in the book of Obadiah, also in Jeremiah 49, It says the same thing as Obadiah. But Obadiah, starting with, I guess, verse 1, it says, the vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Right? So that's the coming war. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised, right? Despised among all nations, right? That's why Iran and other nations call America the great Satan. The pride of thy heart hath deceived thee. Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground, right? So dwellest and he lived in the Neander Valley during the Middle Ages, all right? That's why you find a lot of Neanderthal DNA among Europeans. You don't find it among many others, all right? You just find it among some Europeans, all right? It said, who shall bring me down to the ground? All right, the pride of thy heart hath deceived thee. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. Right, so set thy nest among the stars with space travel, and once they landed on the moon, what did they say? They said the eagle has landed. Right, what's the symbol of America is the bald eagle. All right, it's been the same thing, or at least the eagle has been the emblem, the symbol of Esau all throughout history. All right. So that's why God depicted him as an eagle, because prophetically he would exalt himself as the eagle. He would be portrayed as the eagle. That's the symbol that they love. All right. And I beheld, and lo, as it were a roaring lion chased out of the wood, and I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle, and said, Hear thou, I will talk with thee. And the highest shall say unto thee, Art not thou it that remainest of the four beasts, whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them? And the fourth came, and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression. That's what we've seen from America specifically. We started to see it with Rome, or actually Greece, then Rome, and then later on through European colonial empires. But we've seen it with America, the culmination of it with America. And so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. For the earth hast thou not judged with truth. All right? Excuse me. For thou hast afflicted the meek. Thou hast hurt the peaceable. Thou hast loved liars and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit, and hast cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm. Right? So that's how Esau has done in every way, in every country that he goes into. But started with the so-called Native Americans, right? You can start there. Starting with the house of God, so to speak, as Peter said. Judgment started with the house of God, all right? Therefore is thy wrongful dealing come up unto the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty. Thy pride has deceived thee, right? The highest also had looked upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled, right? So there will be a point, and I guess we'll read this a little later, there will be a point when their sins reach unto heaven. And therefore appear no more, thou eagle, nor thy horrible wings, nor thy wicked feathers, nor thy malicious heads, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain body, that all the earth may be refreshed and may return, being delivered from thy violence, and that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her. Right. So the hope of the world, the judgment, the mercy of the world. Everybody is looking to God and his kingdom. All right. And we talked about that in learning the word. We talked about how the kingdom is going to be, how everybody's going to flow into Jerusalem. And it came to pass, while the lion spake these words unto the eagle, I saw, and behold, the head that remained and the four wings appeared no more, and the two went unto it, and set themselves up to reign. And their kingdom was small and full of uproar. All right? So, I'm going to jump down because it said the two, right? The two, and you read in the vision itself, and it's two little feathers. All right, two little feathers. set themselves up to reign, and their kingdom was small and full of uproar. All right. So jumping down to verse, was it 29, 39? No, 29. All right. So this is the interpretation of the vision. Again, I just want the part about America. I'm not looking for, all of it, because this eagle goes into everything from Rome to like all the other European empires as well. And whereas thou sawest two feathers under the wings passing over the head that is on the right side, it signifieth that these are they whom the highest hath kept unto their end. This is the small kingdom and full of trouble, as thou sawest. Right? So the small kingdom full of trouble goes in the same ways as this eagle, right? Because you had Christ popping out. All right. Where does it say that this lion is Christ? It may be a little further down, or it may be all the way up here. No, it's probably all the way down. But anyway, here we go. Yeah, it's about to say it. And whereas thou sawest two feathers under the wings passing over the head that is on the right side, it signifieth that these are they, whom the highest hath kept unto their end. Until their end. This is the small kingdom and full of trouble, as thou sawest. So these two feathers represent one kingdom. All right? It's the two sides of this one kingdom. All right? Now we call them Democrats or Republicans, left and right wing, but it's always been two-sided. All right? It's always been two-faced, if you will. All right? And the lion whom thou sawest rising up out of the wood and roaring and speaking to the eagle and rebuking her for her unrighteousness with all the words which thou heard, this is the anointed, right? So the anointed, transliterated through the Greek, comes out as Christ, all right? This is the anointed, which the highest hath kept for them and for their wickedness unto the end. He shall reprove them and shall upbraid them with their cruelty. For he shall set them before him alive in judgment, and shall rebuke them and correct them. For the rest of my people shall he deliver with mercy, those that have been pressed upon my borders, and he shall make them joyful until the coming of the day of judgment, whereof I have spoken unto thee from the beginning. Right, so Christ is going to deliver the just, but destroy the wicked. All right. So from there, I guess we'll go ahead and get Revelation 18. Actually, before I do that, I want to get Isaiah 47. Because again, Babylon and Babylon the Great, here in Isaiah 47, it says the daughter of Babylon, but it's the same as Babylon the Great in Revelation. All right. So I'll go ahead and prove that with the scriptures. Y'all forgive me, this thing is acting real slow. The book of Isaiah, chapter 47. And the point is that, hey, it's gonna get worse for sure. Because right now we're just in the beginning of sorrows, but understand, you got to come out the ways of this world. You got to come out the ways of America. You got to see this for what it truly is. All right, and it is. It's all wickedness. It's all a wash. It's all a show. You get like caught up in all this political nonsense. It's not gonna save you. All right. The only salvation is through the Lord Jesus Christ. All right. I don't know if I want to get this here first, or let's get this here first. It says, "Behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return until they come upon the earth. The fire is kindled." So this is second Ezra 16, starting with 15. "The fire is kindled and shall not be put out till it consume the foundation of the earth. Like as an arrow, which a shot of a mighty archer returneth not backward, even so the plagues that shall be sent upon the earth shall not return again. Woe is me, woe is me. Who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows." The same thing Christ said in Matthew 24. We read it often. I haven't read it tonight, but He says it there in Matthew 24. The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. But for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness. Understand, the wicked, they have no other choice but to be wicked. We're not here to condemn the wicked. We're here to try to deliver the righteous, right? That's what we as teachers are supposed to do. So that's why I'm bringing this out. Like, hey, look, the wicked gonna fall. The wicked gonna perish, all right? There's no salvation for that, right? There's no salvation there's no redemption for those who are destined to perish, right? Y'all need to repent. Y'all need to come unto the Lord, the Heavenly Father, right? And come to him through his Son, Jesus Christ. All right, keep the commandments. Turn back. But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap on earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And that's where we're at now, right? Where victuals are so cheap. Hey, people can just go to the store and buy stuff. They think they're all right. And even then shall evils grow upon earth. Sword, famine, and great confusion. That's what's going on with fake news and the media and the AI. It's just confusion out here. And it's only going to get worse. All right? Even have man-made famines going on with war, the sword. For many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. All right? So, it's all going to build to the death, the destruction of Babylon, the daughter of Babylon. As it says here, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. All right, so talking about the daughter of Babylon, not Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar, the daughter of Babylon. All right, in the book of Psalms 137, it tells you who it is. When it's talking about the daughter of Babylon, it tells you who it's talking about. Psalms 137, the 137th Psalm. I forget which verse it is. Verse 5. No, starting with 7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom, in the day of Jerusalem, who said, race it, even to the foundation thereof. So remember, Lord, the Edomites, they wanted to erase Jerusalem. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed. Happy shall he be that rewarded thee as thou hast served us. Right? So God calls the Edomites the daughter of Babylon because when Babylon came in to destroy Jerusalem, Esau was right there helping them. All right? Assisting them. All right, that's why they're the daughter of Babylon. All right, so come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne. I mean, you have no more kingdom. You have no more country. You have no more empire, if you will. O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind meal. Uncover thy locks. First of all, he said, get to work. Uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. Right? Because Christ is not coming back as a man. He's coming back as God to judge the earth. All right? But he said, yeah, your nakedness is going to be exposed. All the evil is going to be exposed. Everybody's going to know. Everybody's going to know what you've done and who you are. Judgment is coming. All right. So, I'm sorry, verse 10 here. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge it hath perverted thee, and thou hast said in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon thee, Thou shalt not know from whence it ariseth. You're not going to know where it comes from. It's going to be sudden, and it's going to be a sudden destruction. And mischief shall fall upon thee, and thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries. So that would be all the technology they've come up with, all the devices they've come up with, the AI. All right, it's enchantments, it's sorceries. It's not new. Like they say, oh, this is a new invention. This is a new device. This is a new creation that we made. It's not. All right, it's old sorcery. It's old enchantments. Wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. They've always tried to figure this out. They've always tried to figure out witchcraft and sorcery and how to summon things, how to do these things, how to come up with this, these new instruments, all right, of different types of like sorceries, enchantments. I'll use those words because that's the words that's used right here in the scriptures. It says from thy youth because the first people that came over, the founding fathers, so to speak, they were masons and alchemists, and they were all into all that stuff. And even from like Project Paperclip, they brought over the Nazi occultists, right? They brought over their magicians and sorcerers, if you will. If so be, thou shalt be able to profit. If so be, thou mayest prevail. All right. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Right. So let's see if your magicians can figure this out. Let's see if your sorcerers can figure this out. Your scientists, your engineers. Let's see if they can figure out how to save you from this destruction coming. God is mocking. God is mocking them, mocking America. All right. Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. So it's going to be a fiery destruction. Is there anything on earth that we know about that causes fiery destruction? Oh yeah, nuclear missiles. All right. God is talking about nuclear devastation to this country. There shall be no coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it, right? So he said this fire is not going to be a comforting fire like a campfire. He said it's going to be a destroying fire, all right? And they will not deliver themselves from it. Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants. And I wanted to get that point right there because we talked about the business side of it, the economic side of it, all right? Thy merchants from thy youth, they shall wander everyone to his quarter. None shall save thee. And you see this in Revelation as well. Starting with verse 1, Revelation 18 and 1, it says, And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power. And the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Right? So, all nations have been subject to America's imperialist ways, all right? And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies, are trading stocks on Stock Street, on the on Wall Street, on the New York Stock Exchange. All right, the merchants of the earth, that's where they go. If you want to do business, if you want to do big business in this current world, you got to go to New York. You got to go to Wall Street. You got to buy and sell stocks. That's how it works. All right. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. That's the point. Come out of her, my people. You don't have to physically go, but be not partakers of her sins. Right? Because they're really, like we just read about how, like, hey, they're cutting down on flights. They're going to make it a lot harder to leave, all right? You already got to get paperwork and permission to leave, right, with a passport. But they're going to make it harder to leave. So God knows that all his people aren't going to be able to leave physically. But be not partakers of her sins, and you won't receive her plagues, all right? It goes on to talk about the merchants of the earth wailing and lamenting, but not staying here, right? Standing afar off. But anyway, we'll go ahead and I want to get this last scripture here in Hebrews 11. Because understand what we're looking for. We're not looking for America to save us. If you're truly godly, you're not looking for America to be your salvation. You're not looking for this country to make your life better. All right? You're not looking to turn this country into the kingdom of God. All right? We're looking for a better country. All right? It says, now is this, here we go. So this is Hebrews 11. And it's talking about the fathers, the forefathers. But it said, these all died in faith, not having received the promises. Right? So if you think the promises is going up into heaven and chilling with God, why didn't all the people who died in the past, all of our forefathers who died in the past, why did they not go up to heaven and fly around with little babies with diapers on, whatever you think, the promises are. That's not what the promises are. But having seen them afar off, right, they were told what was going to happen, and were persuaded of them, embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth, right? So understand that. That's how we really are currently. Since we have no kingdom, the Israelites have no rulership in the earth, we're strangers and pilgrims here. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. See right there, we seek a country. All right? You know that this is not your country. We seek a country, a different country. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to return, right? So it's like Abraham, for example, he left Mesopotamia, he left, Ur of the Chaldees, and he was seeking a better country, right? Same thing with Jacob. He lived in Syria for a little bit. He left Syria from the house of Laban seeking a better country. Same thing with Moses and all the Israelites of his generation, right? Joshua, Caleb, Aaron. They left Egypt seeking a better country. It's the same thing with us today, all right? If we want to be delivered by Christ, we're not going to be saved here in America, all right? We must seek a better country, all right? But now they desire a better country. That is, an heavenly, meaning a godly country that comes from heaven, right? Christ coming down from heaven. Wherefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared for them a city. And you read about that city in Revelation. It's called New Jerusalem. All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close it out with Matthew 26. I hope y'all learned something. Every now and again, it's just important that we talk about, like, hey, stay out the political sphere, all right? Remove yourself from that and come back to the commandments of God, all right? Because America is not going to be your salvation, no matter who you vote for. That's not how it works. It's not how it's going to work, all right? God will see to it that it does not work that way, because America, being divided against itself, cannot stand, all right? He's already said it in prophecy, said it in stone, that Babylon is fallen, all right? So Matthew 26, I'm going to start with verse 6. Now when Jesus was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box, a very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, to what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this that this woman have done be told for a memorial of her. So with that, again, I hope y'all learned something. All praises to the Most High. And happy Sabbath. I say shalom. Let God be magnified.